The reason why I do stuff like this, the reason why I come to New York, keeps me in the game, keeps me in the buzz.
Green lights and blue skies are on their way. Yeah, they're on their way.
Do I have a glare on my head?
Sergio could tell you.
He actually looked.
It's not that noticeable. I'll put a disclaimer on the screen for folks sensitive to light. Wear shades.
It's perfect. The are you laughing at? Very funny.
Well, welcome back to Crosstalk.
One more sip of crack.
Welcome to my buddy, Neil D. I'm so happy that you're here. First up, happy you're here in New York. Mm-hmm. We're having a great time this weekend.
Yep.
We hit a Yankee game and a Broadway show and doing all kinds of fun stuff together. So what I want to do is I want to just kind of give you the mic, and you have the mic hooked to your shirt. It's invisible. Just tell everybody whatever you want to tell everybody about how you started, where you went to, how things are. Once I say that, you won't hear from me anymore. Neil, it's all yours.
So, 𝗥𝘁𝗲. What do you want me? Thank you for having me. I love being up here. It's just fantastic for doing all this. Celsius is starting to kick in a little bit. You know, I feel like so much of recovery and what this has been for me, there's a guy by the name of 𝗧𝗵𝗀𝘀𝘁, he's an AA speaker, and he talks about a lot of what AA is and a lot of what recovery is about catching the buzz. And not only catching it, but keeping it. I caught the buzz down in Florida. I got around a group of men, you were one of them. They taught me how to have fun, and this really wasn't about not drinking. Addiction is nuts because it's the one disease or alcoholism that when you catch it and when you get over it, your life is actually better after it than it would be before it if you never got it.
The problem is, though, when you're in it, you think it's the only way.
It's miserable.
Everybody you hang around with is doing the same thing. You don't know any other way. And to get out of it, it's kind of like washing your hands, trying to wash your hands when your hands are with blood. Somebody once said, you're trying to wash your hands off with blood when you're all bloody. It just says it doesn't work. I don't know if any of that made any sense.
No, it did. Well, I mean, the problem...
When your hands are with blood,
you want to get out of it, but
it doesn't work. When you're all bloody... blood with blood, you're all blood.
If you take away the solution, drugs, alcohol, you're really left with what the problem is. For me, it was me. I was the problem. I was born in West Palm Beach, Florida. My dad was around. He was a very loving dad. My mom was a fantastic mom. I had a great brother. I had a great upbringing, no trauma, a lot of friends. But I was always searching for something. I was born with this attitude of everybody else is better than me. I always felt inadequate. I always felt like something was missing, like I needed something. And
I'm going to interrupt you because I heard you say once the externals weren't really the problem. The internal was the problem.
Yeah, we fixed a bunch of external problems with an internal solution. In the beginning, it was really about adrenaline for me. I love doing shit. Am I allowed to say shit?
Let me just check with our producer. Shit is okay.
Shit's okay?
Shit.
Before my parents would set the alarm at night, I figured out that if I grabbed a magnet, I'd put it on the sensor for the alarm on the window. Close the window. They would set the alarm and I was able to open and close the window without the alarm going off. I'd leave the house at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and that feeling of like doing shit that I wasn't supposed to do, it was just like a rush. I loved that. Half the time I didn't have anywhere to go. And my first drink, we're like, we're gonna get f***ed up.
Let me just check with Yeah, we're okay.
Is this gonna be an issue? 13, it was going into freshman year. You know, we got all the alcohol we could get, you know, wine coolers, Honey Brown, Miller Lights, and we got hammered. In high school, all week was leading up to the weekends. Where are we gonna go? Who's got the fake ID? Which liquor store are we gonna hit? Did we hit the same one last week? Are they gonna take our card? Which girls we hanging out with? Whose parents are out of town? Let's go. Like, that's what it was about. I was still able to function during the week. I did band my first semester freshman year. I actually kind of enjoyed that. Started doing lacrosse and swimming after that. I was on the student council. I was on homecoming court. I had all the tools to like go in a good direction in life. And when it really started to separate from me was, one of my buddies said, hey, you want to hit this joint? I didn't even know what weed did. I'm like, hell yeah, I want to hit that. And that was like the new thing for me. That's really when my life started to separate from the direction, the trajectory that like my parents had set me up to go in. I started going in a different direction at that moment. Things started to change. I started smoking before school, started smoking after school, in addition to drinking, and then there was drinking during the week. My activities started to change. I started to gain some weight. I didn't swim my senior year too. I mean, like, you can't get up all the time and swim. I was living this like sheltered life. I was a spoiled little brat. Everything was really done for me, and I didn't have any desire to leave that. The one thing that I always wanted to be was a dad. With that, a husband as well. But I didn't know what I wanted to do, nor did I really care. I ended up at Auburn University. Again, set up for success, great friends, and like I failed out my freshman year. I came home, started doing a little cocaine, went into a fraternity. I got kicked out of the fraternity after 3 months. Apparently, partied too hard.
Maybe we weren't the smartest guys on campus, but this isn't the end. No way. We're gonna show this world a thing or two. We're gonna show.
Yeah, band of brothers, And so I got kicked out. But the whole time I was telling my parents, like, I'm doing so well in school, I'm tutoring people. Like, I was always so full of shit. If I was talking, I was probably lying. I wasn't studying. I was trying to cram. I was smoking all the time. I was doing some coke. I wasn't doing what I needed to do to succeed. But of course, the problem wasn't me. So I must be ADD. Started taking Adderall. Lo and behold, all my F's turned into A's. I talked my way back into school. One day I came home. One of my friends had this line sitting on the table, big line. And like, I didn't know if it was cocaine or what it was, but I'm the type of guy, I just take it down without even asking what it was, nor did I really care. I just wanted to change the way I felt. I was like, what in God's name is that? And he was like, Oxy. I remember going over to the couch and just going face first into it, and on the way down, I remember thinking to myself, if I'm not dead when I wake up, I am definitely doing this shit again. There's a scene in the Iron Man movie, because the thing in his chest was bad, and he takes it out and he had to change it, and he's like, he can't breathe, and you can tell he's in pain, and then Pepper gets the new one, and she plugs it in, and it's like, the second it was put into his chest, he's like, and he's like back to being Iron Man again. And that's like the closest thing that I can describe to what that was like. It was like the missing piece of the puzzle. Not only did I feel worthy, I felt better than people. I felt like I was a better friend and a better son and a better student. I was a better everything. I was Superman. I wanted more of it, so I kept doing it. What I didn't realize, I had no idea like what physical withdrawal was. When I would stop doing it, because it was expensive, my body would hurt. And I thought I had like growing pains, and when I finally figured out what that was, I got scared. It was the first time I really recognized like, holy shit, I got a problem here. So I ran. I was 21, 22. And I wanted to go to a place where there was no drugs, no alcohol, it was just spiritual, right? So I moved to Breckenridge, Colorado. It's a ski town in Colorado, and I was a photographer on a mountain. I was the guy who like took your picture when you got off the ski lift. It was an amazing experience, but all I could think about was the oxy. We're on the mountain one day, and I was up there with one of my colleagues. We had been drinking, we'd smoked a little bit, and I got into my head like, I want to do some oxy today. I stuck my finger down my throat. I acted like I was sick. I threw up. I told the guy I was with that I was sick. Skied to the bottom of the mountain, told my boss, took my board off, went home, packed a bag, drove to the airport, flew to Atlanta, took an Uber up to my parents' house, stole my mom's wallet, grabbed her ATM card, went to the ATM, got money out, went back downtown, got some drugs, ripped a line. All in one day.
My God.
That's what putting one mood or mind altering chemical does to me. God help you if you're standing in the way of that.
God bless the people that love us.
You feel like you need it more than you need air. It doesn't matter how much you hurt people, and you don't want to hurt people. But when that gets in my brain, it won't leave. The wild part is that you want to show up. I didn't use and take drugs to get high. I used them to feel normal. The problem wasn't the drugs and the alcohol, that was the solution. Well, I kept doing the next wrong thing for quite some time. I got injured out there, and most people get injured and they're like, oh shit. Not me, I get injured and I'm like, opiates, let's go. Had surgery. I was a loser. I was in my parents' basement for like 3 or 4 months. Somehow ended up on this road trip around the country. I fell in love, what was soon to be my wife, driving like this teddy bear van around the country. I knew that wasn't something that she would want in her partner. What's a job people would respect? So I came up with some pharmaceutical sales. I had no idea what I was gonna be selling. My uncle got me this job. So I sat down the first day and they're like, you're gonna be selling fentanyl. I mean, you can't make this shit up. I didn't do well. I didn't want to work. All I wanted to do was get high. Imagine that. My wife and I soon got engaged, and I showed up to marriage counseling one day because there was concerns that my family and friends had around me, and I had been approached by loved ones about something's not right with you, and I mean, they could tell, but I did everything I could to convince people like I'm fine. Whatever I could do to just get people away. It's real easy to say, like, oh, just go get help, but it's horrifying. You don't want to live like that. Oh man, am I gonna be the screw up that went to rehab? You don't ask for help. That's not what men do. Bank accounts were overdrawn, credit cards maxed out, performance improvement plan would work. Relationship with my family sucked, relationship with my wife sucked, everything sucked, but I knew what I was talking about. My wife saved my life at that moment, and she said, if you don't go, you can't come home. That's like what's so hard about addiction and loving people, is that you have to hold those lines. And I went for a 1-week trial at care and treatment centers, and I got up there and I was all dressed to the nines. Everybody was worried except me. There was this guy I forget the guy's name, but he sat with me. I'm telling him like, I don't belong here, like I have a great job and I'm doing well and and I come from a good family, like this is for you guys, it's not for me. And he looks at me and I'll never forget, he said, you know, I've been here a couple months now and I gotta tell you, you might be the most up person I've met yet. He goes, why don't you sit down, shut up, and take a little direction? And no one ever really talked to me like that. That sat with me. I really didn't think anyone was like me. And it was the first time I could ever admit, like, man, I am an alcoholic, I'm an addict. But I said just enough to where I looked like I was surrendered and I was doing the right thing. I wanted to get home. Wanted to get back to the work, wanted to get back to the wife. They need me. And I got back. I remember like they told me I couldn't drink. You no longer have that solution, and like everybody around you has been working. They have 401ks, they have good jobs, they're moving in the right direction, and you feel about that big. Mm-hmm. No one can prepare you for what that feels like.
By the way, none of that actually is happening, it's how you feel.
Exactly. No one really gave a shit where I was. Apparently
Right.
I'm not that important. I remember I was mowing the yard one day, and like my wife wasn't home, and I was like, I'm gonna have a beer. And I keep telling me I can't drink, but I'm gonna just test it out. I went and got a beer, it was a Sweetwater. And I just kind of looked up at the sky like it was about to fall and nothing happened. I didn't want another one. I didn't want to use drugs. I was good. I just wanted to look normal. I just wanted to drink like everybody else. Like I didn't want the label. I wanted to move forward with my life, not do drugs, but still just be normal. That's it. One thing led to another. Found myself looking at a line of Oxy, and I was trying so hard to pump the brakes. And I remember thinking to myself, like, if you do that, you're screwed. You're gonna lose everything if you do that. And I've been drinking. When I have mood or mind altering chemicals, I can't make that decision. And nothing seems more important than what's right in front of me, and that was a line, and I did it. Later, I opened up like a pot in my kitchen, and my wife put this note. She was like, oh, look at the stew I made, and she put this note in there like, you're gonna be a dad. I was thrilled, but at the same time I was horrified. And I knew I wasn't ready. The easiest way to describe the next couple of months is going down a mountain with no brakes, and you're just trying so hard to stop. You know it's gonna crash, just a matter of time when. It came to the point of my daughter was being born. When my daughter popped out, it was the happiest moment of my life. I was holding her in my arms, and I just remember saying to her, I'm gonna be the best that I possibly can be. I'm gonna love you. I'm never gonna do drugs. I'm never gonna drink ever again. If you would have hooked me up to a lie detector, I would have passed in that very moment. There's this thing called denial. Don't even notice I am lying. I was back at it. Spring of 2018, I went a couple of months without doing drugs and alcohol, and I just froze up. Paralyzing anxiety. I had no faith, no hope, I had no communication skills, like I was just frozen. I went on family vacation with my wife and my daughter. I remember on the way down there, like I was falling asleep at the wheel. My wife had to take the wheel, so I couldn't even drive my family down to Florida. And we get down there, and she went down to the beach. She was taking some sun, and my responsibility was my daughter was taking a nap, and I was going to watch the monitor. Well, I had taken Xanax that day. I fell asleep. She comes back up. My daughter's crying. And I wake up and I start screaming at my wife. She starts screaming at me. This is your fault. Like, I'm so stressed out and you're putting all this pressure on me. And I left. And she looks at me and she says, that's it, I'm done. I want a divorce. I remember she was like, what do you want me to do? I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired. I had no faith. And I looked at her, I said, you should run. Run. And we found out like 3 or 4 hours later that she was pregnant with our next one. And she kicked me out of the house. I went over to my parents' house and I took like every drug I could find. I wasn't trying to kill myself, but I was really in the depression. I was better dead than alive to people around me. I just couldn't stop. I remember dropping to my knees and just screaming at God. What is wrong with me? Why are you doing this to me? Why have you made me this way? Like, I cannot live one more day like this. And I woke up the next morning and something had happened to me, you know, and I was ready. I opened my phone. I got an email. Guess who it was from, Corey? Karen Treatment Centers.
Holy cow.
Checking on their alumni. I just woken up from an all-night bender, you know? And I said, well, shit, well, they probably know what I should do. And I walk in, the first time I was like, whatever you tell me to do, I'm gonna do. First time in my life I said that. And you notice a smile's coming over my face because I know what's coming, you know? Now
This, by the way, ladies and gentlemen,
yeah,
this is why I stay very close to this guy.
Yeah, now we're getting into the good shit, you know what I mean? I had my last drink, June 12th. 2018. I was in a movie theater. I had 3 glasses of red wine. I don't really know why I chose that as my last drink. Awkward. Am I going too long here?
Anyway.
This is so great. I love talking about me.
Yikes.
No, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. There's no yikes, and the reason why there's no...
I had my last drink. I went home. I spent my last morning with my daughter. And off I went. Looking out the window, and I'm thinking to myself, I can see it. There's no hope. Best case, you're gonna live a life where maybe you can make it through not drinking and doing drugs, but you're gonna be miserable. It's gonna be this miserable life. In my first week, I missed my first Father's Day, my daughter's first birthday, and my dog Hank died. I always wanted to be a dad. That's all I wanted to freaking be. And I missed my first Father's Day. And he came out, I'm sitting on the lawn, and he said, you know, Neil, you're gonna miss this Father's Day, but it's gonna make for a real good 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and so on, Father's Days. There's this other guy by the name of Tony Grimmel. And he asked me how my relationship with God was, and I said, my relationship with God is great. I go to church, I pray, everything's good. And he's like, you're in rehab, dude.
How good can it be?
Your relationship with God sucks. From that moment, like, I never did anything alone. Like, I got in with these guys, Craig and Andy. I'm still best friends with these guys today. I was in Caron, Pennsylvania for 6 weeks. I started to have fun. I started to work out. I knew if I went home, I was screwed. My wife, she held the line. If I went home, I was set up for failure. I let loose in group one day and I was like, I need help, like I can't go home. And there was this guy, Phoenix Adams, and he goes, hey, I got somewhere where you can go. That's called Ocean Drive. So I went down there and I met these guys, and there's this guy by the name of John. He says, you know, the whole not drinking thing's a big part of this program. But he looks at me and he says, we'll see you tomorrow. I guess I'll see you tomorrow, you know? And I started to show up every freaking day. And then my main man, Pots and Pans, Craig, he came down, man. It was me and him, shoulder to freaking shoulder. There was a storm in front of us. We locked arms and we said, we're walking through this shit together. And we went every day together. We did everything together. We knew everything about each other. For the first time in my entire life, I didn't have one secret. It just started to get so fun. And it wasn't about just going to AA. It was about fellowship and going to workouts on Saturday and taking care of yourself. What are we gonna do tonight? Like, let's have a pizza party at somebody's house. And
music.
Let's go to the beach roll. Let's go to a concert. We just started to have fun. I stopped flying and I started soaring. I caught the buzz. I caught the freaking buzz. And I made it my full-time job. I'm gonna do nothing but build a sober network. And man, the guys that whew. I was never alone. I said this a million times, but every time I get emotional.
What's going on right now, I hope it shows anybody who needs help that there's another way.
I got into the program. It was the only thing that was important to me at the time, and it's very selfish to say that considering I was going through a divorce. I had a 1-year-old, my wife was pregnant, I had all these things going on, but like my only mission was to build that network, and I thank God I did. What kind of a tissue or something? I got snot coming out of my nose. Hey, thank you.
Cheap with the tissue though, I'll tell you that.
That's all I need. Now we're good. We're good.
You want to get rid of that? Or you?
I got back home. I was super uncomfortable. I felt like a fish out of water. Like I had that network. That was my strength. That's what was keeping me sober. And I would go home and I just didn't have anybody. Slowly but surely I started building a life. I got back home, moved into my apartment December 13th, 2018, and I got the sponsor named JoJo, and JoJo spoke out of a Drake tube. He would require things of me, like decided I should go to a meeting every day and call him every day. None of which I did. Yeah, and when I wouldn't call him, he would just be like, you know what, it's all good. It's not working out. Like there's guys that are in this program that don't call their sponsor every day and don't go to AA meetings every day. Like it's not working out, it's all good. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. So I started calling him every day. He believed in a 365 out of 365. You get your ass to a meeting every day. And I started to. I started going to regular meetings regularly. I was still in love with my wife. I was going through a divorce. She was pregnant. I just wanted to be with my kids. It's understandable that no one would trust me with them. We're in early 2019. My second daughter was born. I met her over FaceTime. She's my FaceTime baby. I was trying to learn how to be a dad, single dad, with an infant and a 2-year-old, and go to meetings. And it was a freaking mess. But you know, like, I did it with my guys, and like I started to have fun as a dad. I never thought I could do it, but it's amazing what you can do when you have an amazing network and you're sober. It's like you have superpowers. AA has taught me to communicate. It's given me that solution to the problem, which was me, and like you work the steps and it starts to fundamentally change who you are as a human being. You relinquish all power, you recognize someone knows more than you and has more power than you do, or something has more power than you do, you give your entire life to it. You wash away all your secrets, you start flying, you feel weightless, you look at your character defects, you know, you start getting into making amends to people, and you clear your side of the street. Each day you have somebody analyze not only what you're doing, but what you're thinking, especially lying. I would lie about ridiculous shit. What did you have yesterday to eat? And I had a cheeseburger. Oh, well, I had a salmon Caesar salad is what I had. No, dipshit, you had a cheeseburger, and people would call me on it. My sponsor would, and he would make me call those people and say, hey, I lied to you. Enough times doing that and being embarrassed, and it started to change how I interacted with the people around me. It's not about not drinking. It's about taking one step forward each day. Some days I don't get a step forward, but I don't take a step back.
Once you take care of yourself, other people who need help, you're there. There were so many other people there for you. You don't know how much help you provide to other people just by being you. You know, then if you want to put that into words, I suppose the words are, you know, I want to give to other people what was freely given to me.
Yeah, I gotta pee.
At this stage of the game, we're going to pause for a urination break. He's amazing. It's, you know...
Hi. Now I peed. And I think a lot of people would look at my life and be like, that's boring. I live a pretty disciplined life. My priorities are sober, dad, employed, in that order. I mean, like, I love being a dad. I take my kids all over the country. We do ridiculous things together. Like, I love being a dad more than anything on the face of this earth. I'm a 3:30 a.m. wake-up guy. I leave for the gym at 3:45. I get to the gym at 4 a.m. I stretch at 5:30. I swim 5:30 to 5 a.m. I work out at 3:45. I get to the gym at 4 a.m. 5 a.m. or 5 a.m. 5:30. I swim 5 a.m. I work out. And when I have my kids, it's the same way. Like, I still wake up early. I still take time for myself, but I get to show up for the people around me. You know, and there was so long that I wanted to show up for the people around me, but I just couldn't. And now, like, the way I get high, I love showing up for the people around me. I don't expect for everybody to like me, but I am not gonna be somebody else just because that's who I think you want me to be anymore. In my humble opinion, the more people that do things like crosstalk, that we can talk about it and make it normal. I go to concerts, I go to bars, I've dated, happy hours and sales meetings, and it's like, I just don't need it. You don't need that. I love being able to be the sober guy that drives everybody home. Like, I love not being hungover. I love waking up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. But
You know what I love? I love remembering what I did yesterday.
fantastic. Isn't that crazy?
It's great.
I love when people think that this life is just so boring. Like last night, after we got back from the show, I came back and like I remember sitting on your couch. Beautiful apartment, by the way. Great accommodations. Highly recommend coming up here for crosstalk. And I'm lying on the couch and I couldn't wait to go to sleep.
My hero, 𝗣cie𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘁, said, it's not the getting there, it's the going that really matters. And if anybody's going, it's Neil D.
If I sit back, relax, and wait to have a better relationship, not only with God, but the people around me, probably gonna happen. Taking time out of my day to thank him for what I have, even in the worst moments. Like, Andy was like 2. She had just potty trained. I woke up at like 2 in the morning and she is screaming bloody murder. I ran into the room and she had like, all over. And I just went into dad mode. And like forklift up, there was just dookie all over us both, just like poop everywhere. And I grabbed her, bear hugged her, and I took her straight in the shower. I held her and we sat in the shower and like she was crying, but then she stopped. Like I remember sitting there and looking up at God and being like, thank you. The more I seek, more filled with gratitude I am.
You and I can do this all day long, but they're gonna stop watching. So we gotta end this at some point. Can I give you a hug?
I don't know why we wouldn't.
That would be a really good thing to do.
Let's do it.
Let's go to a wide camera shot.
Love you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You're the best.
Oh, God.
I'm inspired by Neil. There was a phrase from The Wizard of Oz where the wizard tells Dorothy, you've always had the power, my dear, you've just had to learn it for yourself. That's what I think about when I think of Neil and the journey that he was on, really the journey that all of us in life are on, whether we're in recovery or not. There's a book called Daring Greatly, Brené Brown, and there's a phrase in it I want to read to you. What we know matters, but who we are matters more. Being rather than knowing requires showing up and letting ourselves be seen. It requires us to dare greatly, to be vulnerable. The first step of that journey is understanding where we are, what we're up against, and where we need to go. For my part, what I learned from people like my friend Neil is that facing who we are and being able to tell you what's going on with us, telling our friends, our family, the people we care about, opens the door to recovery, opens the door to change. That's how we go from being at a place where we're not happy to being a place where we feel better. Being vulnerable, being transparent, being able to be seen, and it connects us with other people. At the end of the day, whether you're in recovery or you're just looking to kind of get your balance and get yourself together, connecting with other people is the difference between being happy and not being happy. So the message here is connect with other people, be yourself, be vulnerable, be transparent, and that'll make you happier. It made me happier. Well, listen, I'm so grateful for you watching Crosstalk. Our listeners are growing, and it's making me feel very heartened that we're reaching people. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a picture of you guys.
We don't want any pictures.